Okay, time for today's review. Where did I put the book? Michael, I'm detecting some sort of weird gravimetric readings. Weird? Is it a wormhole? Kind of. It's more of a time displacement. But it doesn't seem to have any sort of opening. It's more like a transporter pattern trying to beam down. Can we isolate it? You can try. I suggest a hypersonic frequency. Let's go. Zeta, what's happened?
The transporter has been released.
Well, looks like you failed. Oh, it's you. I've been wondering when you'd show up. Your plan to get rid of me failed. It's like I've never left. Really? Is that why the last time I saw you was nearly 2 years ago? What? Yeah, last time I saw you was when I reviewed Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that was early 2013. It's late 2014 now. I time traveled? That is how it appears to be. My guess is that when I transported you out, you hit some sort of temporal bubble and it propelled you to here. What's happened during my absence? Zeta, play the tape.
Aye, sir.
You disappeared and months went by. I assumed that I busted the transporter watch and stranded you in a parallel universe where you'd live out your days. Around October 2013, Mikesano broke out of prison, killing 3 guards and Maverick. That's when the proverbial shit hit the fan. Mikesano amassed an army and attempted to take over several parallel universes. I was able to erect a shield over this universe, but it's not going to last forever. And if it doesn't, this world is a goner. That's impossible. Tell that to Maverick's corpse. Anyway, you'll be a valuable asset to the fight against Mikesano. What makes you think I'll ally myself with the likes of you? 'Cause if you don't, then your world is next. Fine. Think about it. I have a book to review. You still do those even in these circumstances? It's the only thing that I have left. Fair enough. Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. You know that I love Star Trek The Next Generation. I did an entire top 10 list about it earlier this year, but the only TNG book I've ever looked at on this show was Before Dishonor, and I need to look at a good Star Trek TNG book. One that has alternate timelines and time travel, and Scotty. And as such, I'm going to look at Engines of Destiny. A book that I've actually been trying to get my hands on for quite some time, and I only recently got it in my possession. Anyway, let's get to it. The cover is just amazing. It's a clock getting utterly annihilated by the Nexus ribbon, with the texture of a bored cube all around the book. I love it. Anyway, let's get to the story itself. The story begins with Scotty about a year after Captain Kirk's apparent death on the Enterprise B. Those of us who have seen Star Trek Generations know that he survived, but Scotty doesn't yet. He's all sad and depressed and having dreams about Kirk's death, and he blames himself, even though it really wasn't his fault. He goes to a bar and runs into Guinan, the future bartender of the Enterprise D's 10 Forward, played by Whoopi Goldberg, and she goes to talk with him at the bar, because she was on the El Orient refugee ship that Scotty, Chekhov, and Kirk helped save the year before, right before Kirk's death. Scotty gets up to leave, but finds a Starfleet ensign being harassed, and steps in to defend him, as he knew how it felt. They end up striking up a conversation, and Scotty decides to hitch a ride on the USS Janolan to a retirement colony when the ship is trapped in a Dyson Sphere detailed in the TNG episode Relics. This book explains some of the inconsistencies, like how in that episode, when they say the name Enterprise to Scotty, Scotty says, "The Enterprise! I should have known. And I'll bet it was Jim Kirk himself who hauled the old girl out of mothballs to come looking for me." Which doesn't make much sense because Scotty did see Kirk supposedly die. The episode was produced way before Star Trek Generations, and it wasn't even supposed to be Scotty and Chekhov in that scene, but it was supposed to be Spock and Bones. But the book explained it by saying that the transporter buffer made him a bit dazed at first and he didn't even know what he was saying. Scotty remembers how he got in the way and took a shuttlecraft to explore the galaxy. He discovers a TOS film-era shuttle pod with 2 Norisians in it, who talk about wise ones who gave their planet warp drive and technological advances. They also tell Scotty of a Klingon bird of prey they hid somewhere, and he retrieves it, naming it the Bounty 2, in reference to the HMS Bounty that the original Enterprise 2 took away from Kruge and used to save the Earth by retrieving whales from the 80s. This gives him an idea. His plan is to use the Klingon ship to go back, beam Kirk aboard it, and return him to the future. Everyone thinks he's dead, no harm, no foul. He goes out to do it, and Picard attempts to stop him, following him through the slingshot effect, and they travel through time to 2293. Picard and crew land about a week or so after Scotty alters the timeline, and find an Alpha Quadrant overrun by Borg. Scotty, however, landed on time, beamed Kirk aboard his shuttle, and suddenly the timeline shifted around them, also overrun with Borg. Scotty and Kirk are soon intercepted by Sarek, Spock's father, who in this timeline is a commander of the Alliance, the alternate timeline's federation. This Sarek is having hallucinations of another life, the life of Sarek from the Prime Trek timeline. Kirk and Scotty gain his trust as they try to figure out why the timeline changed. Guinan and her counterpart in this timeline both sense the change and meet up to discuss what to do. As in this timeline, for a strange reason, Guinan's planet, which in the original timeline had been destroyed by the Borg prior to 2293, is still there. They eventually rendezvous with Scotty, Kirk, and Sarek, and Picard, using his former Borgness to tap into the collective, figures out that the Norisians are Borg spies and that the wise ones are in fact the Borg. The Borg Queen possesses a Norisian and soon discards the body when she's found out. Kirk realizes that the only way to save the timeline is either through use of the Guardian of Forever or to send himself back into the Nexus. Sarek's secret weapon to destroy the Borg, cloaked interphasic torpedoes, fail because the Norisians had been informing the Borg of them for years, and so he quickly tells Picard and company to go to the Guardian because the Nexus isn't a feasible option anymore. They realize that they might not make it to the Guardian, so Kirk decides to just let himself die, as he believes that his survival caused the timeline to shift. Guinan tries to warn against it, but collapses, while the other Guinan, the one from the alternate timeline, goes down to the Guardian planet. Guinan learns that Kirk must enter the Nexus, and not just use the Guardian. The reason being that if Kirk doesn't enter the Nexus, then the events of Star Trek Generations take a darker turn. If Kirk isn't there to bail Picard out during the fight with Soren, Picard and the Enterprise D are lost with all hands. Without them, there is no Enterprise E to show up during first contact and travel back to 2063 to stop the Borg from assimilating Earth, meaning Earth is assimilated before they finish testing the first warp drive and have their first contact with the Vulcans, which is why this timeline, the one where Borg overrun the Alpha Quadrant, exists. Kirk's existence in the Nexus is a crucial part of it, and even though he's believed to be dead for almost a century, he's important. The only problem is convincing Scotty to let it happen. He has an undying loyalty to Kirk and is unwilling to let him go into the Nexus a second time. But Guinan and Kirk talk him into it, and soon he's on board because, as an old friend of theirs likes to say, it's only logical. Scotty performs one of his famous miracles when he gets the idea to take holodeck technology and build a rudimentary cloaking device to get them back through the Borg to the Nexus. It was simple to make, really. He just bounced a graviton particle beam off the main deflector dish. That's the way they do things, lad, making shit up as they wish. However, the Borg Queen is pissed off that they're outsmarting her and is out for revenge. The two captains have a heart-to-heart before Kirk leaves to enter the Nexus. They outsmart the Borg Queen using the cloak, and Kirk ruminates on the past day's events before he becomes part of history. The Borg Queen figures out their plan, only too little too late, as Kirk is already beaming to the Nexus. Her mind is flooded with memories of first contact when Picard defeated her before she disappears. Scotty and Picard awaken on the Enterprise D, the other timeline just a dream, and Scotty realizes how foolish he was. Kirk reawakens in the Nexus and goes to ride his horses and cook his eggs. Guinan feels the timelines realign and everything is back to normal, even if normal means that her homeworld has been destroyed. And that was Engines of Destiny. a really, really good Star Trek novel that took all my favorite things about Star Trek and mashed them together. It's Star Trek Generations meets Yesterday's Enterprise meets The City on the Edge of Forever. The book was great, and the author really captured the characters' personalities. I give this book a stamp of must-read if you're a Trek fan, especially if you like Scotty and alternate timelines. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment, and hey, share this video around to your friends. See you next time. If there is one.
I've thought it over. I'll join you.
I thought you would.
What the hell was that?
The shield. It's not going to last much longer. Your trip through the temporal bubble and then right through the shield has weakened it.
Is there any way to stop it from breaking down?
No. Got some bad news. Mikesano escaped.
What? How did he escape?
No idea. Someone hacked into the security system. But there could be a way to stop Mikesano. I've had these flashes of memory that crop up at oddly specific times. They're like a dream world where Mikesano never became a superpower and was just a mad scientist on the run.
Well, how does that help us?
Because you're the key. If you were there to break him out and stop him from doing what he did, then Maverick wouldn't be dead and the multiverse wouldn't be at war. This is brilliant.
I'm the key?
I thought I stranded you in another world, but you were sent here. Maybe you were never meant to travel here. Maybe that was an accident.
And if I go back, then I can stop this.
Exactly. And hopefully we can get you there before the shield is busted. Zeta, how long do we have until the shield is compromised?
Approximately 5 minutes.
Then we don't have a lot of time left. Let's get ready. I have knowledge of the future, so you're probably going to mess with my memory to get rid of it. How am I going to complete the mission then? Simple. I'm leaving one aspect in. No one dies. No one dies. Zeta, power up the transporter and prepare to deactivate the shield for a split second.
Aye, sir.
I can't guarantee getting you to Mikesano's cell right away, but I know that I'll be able to drop you within a 2-month radius before or after. That should give you enough time to figure out how to get there and stop it. Time travel isn't really an exact science. Yet. And you're sure that that one single memory will hold. It'll be a subconscious promise. Don't worry. I hope we can do battle again, under better circumstances. Me too. Zeta, now!
Dropping the shield. Transporter activated.
Shield status.
Shield unable to reactivate.
Call up the armies. Tell them to get ready for a fight. Let's make sure that history never forgets the name. Literary Lair.
What happened?
The anomaly just sort of disappeared. Although my chronometer is reading that it's been like 3 hours.
Weird. That thing just ate our time. Must be nothing, because I think we'd notice if anything was different. What the hell? Where am I? Cloak. Hello and welcome to the Satellite of Love. I'm Mike Josephson.